Hello everyone, here we are in California with the sun shining and the Sonoma Raceway proving to be a huge attraction to not only the drivers but the spectators that want to see some real race action on what is termed a very old school circuit. We bring the Ferrari Challenge to Sonoma and we know it's going to entertain. We have a series of races across the weekend that will feature the Pirelli drivers, the Pirelli AM drivers, also the Coppa and Coppa AM drivers, all driving their 488 Challenge Evos to the absolute max on this circuit which takes no prisoners.
Well, welcome everybody to Sonoma Raceway. I'm Justin Bell. I'm up here in the booth while my illustrious colleague Dave has headed down to do a little podium celebrations down in the paddock. But Sonoma Raceway, one of the favorite racetracks for everybody involved in the paddock, whether you are behind the wheel or you are working on a car or you're with your friends and family. They put on a show here unlike anyone else. But it is the fifth round in the North American calendar, starting in Miami Homestead, then obviously Austin, Road Atlanta, and Montreal, with Road America still to come and ending up in Italy for the Mugello round. Somewhere, sadly, I won't be, but I'm very envious of those that will. Now, of course, Sonoma is located about 50 miles north of San Francisco in the wine country. You can see it there on the left side of your screen. It is just such an incredible place and definitely one of the hot spots on the motorsport calendar. It's also one of the most established and most demanding tracks. It is... When it comes to the circuit, you can see it has 11 corners, well 12 if you count the sweep through to the finish, but it's one of the most demanding tracks because it's an old school racetrack, as Dave has said many times. It has 6 corners left, 6 corners right, an awful lot of undulations, and puts car and driver to the test almost like no other one ever before. Now, of course, the weather when you get here, as you see out, is a little grey in the sky. There's a little cloud cover. The sun is trying to burst through, but it is absolutely perfect conditions if you are going to be sitting behind the wheel of one of these race cars. It's just perfect. The track temperature will be spot on, and the tires and drivers will work well. Amanda, I think it's the perfect conditions, isn't it?
Oh, it's a beautiful morning here at Sonoma Raceway. I'm waving at you up there, JP, and gosh, you talk about Sonoma Raceway. We were at Inglenook Winery yesterday where it was announced the schedule of next year. So we're coming back here next year to the enthusiasm of all of our drivers. But when you talk about how challenging it is here at Sonoma Raceway, I was just listening to our good friend Dave on the Ferrari Track Attack saying that most people call this place a roller coaster. And that is exactly what I'm hearing from drivers here this season, just saying it's a track like they haven't seen before. And whether that's because we're here earlier than we were last year or just the evolving nature of this track here. But if you go back to yesterday's qualifying, in our 4 classes, 3 of the pole sitters ended up winning the race. So track position is very, very key here at Sonoma, and that's what we're going to see here in qualifying.
Well, that's why, Amanda, you're on the squad, because you're the one that pays attention to where everyone actually finishes. Yeah, you're right, track position, so important, and so many lessons will have been learnt. As you can see, the cars making their way out on the racetrack, doing an installation lap, just checking. Well, you know, really, when you've learnt lessons overnight, you're going out, it is a little cooler than it was yesterday, but an awful lot of work will have gone on since the races we enjoyed so much yesterday. You can see Jerry Walters there in her beautiful Bubbles car as she goes round. My great friend Joao Barbosa is the coach for this very fast lady. Joao, my teammate actually way back in the days, and one of the fastest drivers I know, a great communicator, and obviously playing his part in the progress that she's making in her driving career. Now, one of the things that they will have talked about a lot with the lessons learned from yesterday is tire management. And tire management is the key to having a great result here. Of course, being fast at the start is one thing. Pushing hard in the tire window can damage them if you're not careful, and that will have a dire result for you at the end. You may wonder as you're watching why they're taking so long to build up speed. Well, that is putting temperature into these Pirellis. If you push too hard, you literally just warm up the outer layer, the outer skin of the tire. You don't get the heat generated from the carcass outwards. And that is what the coaches will have worked with these drivers to say. This is the Shell Am qualification session. So these guys had a barnstormer of a race yesterday. It was literally on your seat stuff for the last 10 minutes of the race. Really some of the best overtaking I've seen here. We're waiting for drivers to put their first lap time up on the board, but as they're coming out of the, I call it the, it is turn 11, but it's almost like a gladiatorial stadium, and it's where you want a good hole shot out of to cross the start finish line. Well, this is yesterday's winner, Bruce Cleveland. Amanda, he had a heck of a day yesterday.
Oh, yeah, he certainly did. And I ended up catching up with him further at the podium celebrations when he was talking about just that he's a kid from Petaluma that always dreamed of racing here at Sonoma Raceway. Never thought that that would be a thing that he could accomplish in life. Said that he didn't come for money, but the fortunes that he has found in his life now have made this dream possible. And he said, even though that this thing is just a plastic trophy, it is something that is going to go high on my mantle as something that I'm going to celebrate. But when we talk about those 3 winners yesterday that won from pole, Bruce is one of those guys, and he's had a season that, you know, he's steadily increased. He picked up his first pole yesterday as well of his career, followed by his first win, but he's seen the podium already several times this season, and I imagine that's going to continue as we develop further into the season. But JB, I want to go back to how important yesterday was. You talk about the tire deg. When we talked to Gray Farber after the race, he was telling us that they actually saw a lot of fall off on those tires, even though that we spent some of that race under yellow. But when you think of the restart zone and you think of where the start finish line is, it's actually kind of tricky. It's not a long front stretch here at Sonoma Raceway. You actually have to time it pretty perfectly as you head into turn 1.
Amanda, did you get feedback from the teams on how were they able for that last 10 laps of the 10 minutes of the race, able to disregard tire drag because of the pace car? Were they able to go flat out to the end? I think that's something to know for today's race.
No, not at all. They still were having to kind of manage it even in that last stint. When I was talking to Mark Alcason, actually was giving me some good insight on the tires when it came to qualifying, and he said really whether it's qualifying or whether it's race pace, here at Sonoma specifically with the texture of the racetrack, they dig into those tires pretty quickly, so there's substantial fall off. He said even on qualifying, you maybe have one fast lap attempt at this place.
Wow, great to know. Thanks for that. Well, I just saw Lisa Clark having a coffee while I was having a coffee, and she was heading to get changed to prepare for qualifying. This is a lady with a full commitment to her racing career and travels all over the world to enjoy driving Ferraris, and certainly has the right coach with Kyle behind her. And as we see her approaching the start-finish line to probably try and lay down her first significant lap. She didn't. She just got fastest lap so far of 42.365 as we watch her head up into turn 2-3 complex there. That is a spectacular lap to lay down and make her presence felt to the guys through the rest of the grid. Lisa certainly looked very sporty out there, and she was not happy with her race yesterday, especially when she's at the top of the points championship chart, but she wants to rectify that in today's race. And if her statement on her opening timed lap is anything to go by, she means business. But Bruce Cleveland just popped ahead of her there with a 141.867. That's a great race, and as you just said, Amanda, he's a guy that is enjoying his racing without the really the burdens of, it seems, performance. He just wants to drive fast. He wants to win. He's enjoying every minute, and I think he's appreciating these opportunities, and that is very refreshing. We're seeing the times tumble right now as they start to put in their first few laps. Remember that the track temperature today is lower. I don't know how much lower, but you can certainly have less heat radiating from the asphalt, and that allows these Pirellis and the drivers that are controlling them to get the best lap times they can. Probably only a 2-lap window right now. Amanda, what are you hearing on the number of laps that they're able to do out there to get optimum performance?
Well, I think also is, whether the tires have fallen off or not at this point, it's still invaluable track time here at Sonoma as we get ready for race number 2. Coppa qualified second yesterday, so, some of these lap times are actually faster than we saw yesterday for the classes. They were qualifying after Trofeo Pirelli yesterday. But going back to Lisa Clark, she's picked up 5 poles this season, and when you look at the development that she's had from season after season, I mean, she's really just coming to her own. I was talking to her a little bit at turn 11 yesterday, and I just love her, as you were saying, her commitment to this racecraft, traveling all over the world. And, it's one thing with race car drivers, how the accountability that they carry when mistakes happen. And sometimes I often like to laugh about how much of a short-term memory these guys and girls have, because to get right back in a race car and go after it, there is some magic to that.
Well, you just said it as we watched Roger Monteforte get up to 4th place with a 140.64. Race drivers have the most amazing ability to forget how bad we were last weekend. It's what allows us to be good this weekend, and it's a metaphor for life. I think you cannot lose the upcoming event because you're worrying about the way you performed in the last one. So, we're watching Jeffrey Nunberg right now. He is laid down a 144.16. He's in 7th position right now. I'm sure he's hoping to improve on that. Nice line there out of turn as he heads up down to turn 5-6. This is, for me, as we watch these cars, the number 124 there, that is Mr. Czech heading out there. He's laid down a 143.17. Steve doing a great job. I love the paint scheme on that car. As he heads into the carousel here, into turn number 6, this is the place where you've got to really control the wear and the effort you're putting through that outside front right-hand tire. While you want a quick exit out onto the straight, it's so important. Heavy braking up into turn 7 and 7A. This is if you've got a good lap going, you know that you want to hold it together. It's all about, if you know you're up on your previous lap time and you've only got maybe 2 to maybe 3 chances to lay down a great qualifying lap, you are trying to control it all the way through, balancing the throttle as much as using the steering wheel. We'll check in with Steve and see how he does at the end of this lap. But that's fantastic. The car number 176, Corley, has just laid down a 40.664 to take the fastest lap so far. With only 4 minutes left to go, it's a pretty crucial moment in the qualifying lineup right now. Amanda, as Steve goes past, we're going to see what his target time is. 140.66. He did where did he get to? Okay, a 42.93, so not much improvement there. Amanda, I mean, we see the Pirelli tire engineers altering tire pressures. Is that the only change we're seeing them do in the last few minutes of qualifying?
Yeah, and I see a little overview on the cars and stuff as we're going to get ready for race setup as well. But I have my eyes on the 176 and Lance Colley. There were smiles from the team, some fist pumps from the team. Lance Colley sitting in that first place. But what I find so dynamic here, he has a second on the field from his qualifying time. So I can't wait to talk to him just about what he was able to find here at Sonoma. But Lance ended up picking up the pole at Road Atlanta, which I would also say is a tricky track to find, passing capabilities. And so if he can convert that one to a win, he might have a chance to do it here as well.
Yeah, as you said, the 3 race winners from 3 poles, but we saw some spectacular overtaking yesterday, so drivers will be mindful also of how their cars, how they're feeling and their confidence abilities behind the wheel for those late minute braking passes, positioning the car to go by. We saw some great action yesterday. So that, yes, you're right, they are trying to get a great qualifying run. They're also trying not to overuse their tires, and I heard some of the teams not quite admonishing their driver, but saying, hey, listen, we've got a long race ahead, a 30-minute race. You do not want to overuse your tires in pursuit of a lap time that you're not going to achieve at the end of a long lap run in qualifying. The track temperature is perfect right now, and I'm sure they're going to feel it inside the car, aren't they, Amanda?
Well, one of of the things that I think so nice is there's also a good cloud coverage that's hanging over the track right now. So not only is the air temperature down, it also has a bit of a cooling effect into the cars. But I was looking at the temperature from yesterday to today. I think we got air temps of around 95 degrees. Today we're looking at a little bit of mid to high 80s, and that is significant inside of these race cars, especially when you think of being strapped in. You're going 30 minutes around a track, pushing yourself. But most of our drivers have cool suits, what also helps inside of the Ferrari. But hey, these guys are athletes, right?
Well, more than you. It sounded like you just fell off a golf cart. But I tell you what, we've seen a lot of improvements in the last couple of minutes here. Bruce he's still in second, and Cleveland in the 158. He just increased his lap time. Check, he improved. He's in fourth. Monteforti in fifth. Mr. Len is in sixth with a 143.543. People are still out there trying to get their best lap on the board. We did learn something from the race yesterday, which is if you pace yourself through, you will be able to have a heart attack in the last third of the race. No, I did not say a heart attack in the last third of the race. I said a heart attack. Dave would correct me if I was up here. Actually, maybe that's where he hasn't quite made it back from the paddock, so I hope he's okay. But we're seeing it. The last minute of qualifying here. This is everything to play for if you feel you have one more lap in you. Let's see if Mr. Czech pulls it off as he goes across the line. His target was 140. No, this was not faster. It is time to bring your Ferrari back to the paddock and prepare for the race. At this point, if you have not laid down a lap time, I would say that moment has passed. Pretty good qualifying right now. We've definitely seen with Lance Corley out the front there. As you said, Amanda, 1 second clear of the field, which round here is a pretty impressive thing. That means 11 corners, just under a tenth faster than anyone else in every corner. Of course, that's not quite how it works. He could be spectacular in just 2 corners. The checkered flag falls out here as all the cars are either in the pits or completing their final lap. That was a very, very tidy qualifying. No incidents out on track, which of course cut down the on-track time for any of the drivers. But I think everyone should be very proud of themselves there. The coaches will have a lot of dialogue with them, of course, as they analyze what they did in qualifying. But it's time to lock qualifying away in your head. No frustrations from that. Obviously, if you think you can always be the fastest, sometimes you get frustrated. But it's more important to turn your attention on the upcoming race. So it is a beautiful view out there of Sonoma. It's one of the most stunning areas to come and race, and there's a reason that the Ferrari Challenge choose to come here, because it's just so pretty. So we can see the Coppa Shell drivers getting ready to take to their session. Yesterday's race was incredibly competitive. These guys they seem to have really got their game together. This is, as I said, the 5th round of the championship, and everybody has they've got a measure of the people around them. You can watch. There's Lisa Clark finishing her last lap. She should be very pleased with 3rd place on the grid, lining up behind Corley on pole position. Amanda, I imagine that the coaches have got their work cut out now, preparing everyone for the upcoming race. But when it comes to the Coppa Shell guys, who you got your eyes on to be one of to try and run for pole?
Oh, goodness. I think you have to go back to yesterday's winner and Gray Favre to see what he's going to do as well. I think when you just see where the improvements that he's made from one year to the next, Gray was able to sneak out a podium here last year. And then, this season racing at some of the events and not the others. But he really credits the track time that they are allowed to get here at Ferrari Challenge and being able to kind of grow into himself becoming a racing driver. So yeah, I would say that my eyes are firmly on him. But you were talking about heart attacks, and when you tossed to me earlier, you almost gave me a heart attack because I was not prepared for that, JB. So that falling off of a golf cart was actually me dropping my mic as I was making my way over to the podium as we approach Lance Colley, who's going to come get his pole nomination. But yeah, no, it's gosh, what a spectacular event. I'm sitting here looking at the Ferrari corral of all of our local Ferrari owners in the area. We have the podium celebrations where our winners were able to raise that champagne yesterday, and man, it's just these weekends, they're just so memorable and something to just take in and watch. And I get the advantage of watching people achieve and watching people have something that they've wanted to acquire for a long time. So what a special event, special weekend.
Well said. Dave is back in the booth, but while you were gone, Dave,
yes.
I felt a bit lonely.
Well, I was
so I talked to
spellbound.
Amanda a lot down there.
I was listening to you, and I was spellbound.
Is that what stopped you? Well, it's time. You missed a very tidy qualifying.
Okie doke.
I've got to say, it was fun to watch. Everyone, the cloud cover gave them a little bit more time out on track, and there's our results. Lance Corley did a great lap time with a 1:40.664, and he was a second clear of Bruce Cleveland in second place. Then Lisa. She was looking very sporty, trying to make up for yesterday's race, get herself in a good position. Then Steve Check, Paul Lynn, Roger Monteforti, Jesus Mendoza, Jeffrey Nunberg, Neil Langberg, Jerry Walters in 10th, Al Hagee, Anthony DiCarlo, and Dana Goodwin there with no time. They did not post a timeout there. But you know what? I think we're seeing some good stuff, Dave, as it's lining up. The Coppa Shell, certainly we saw such a great race yesterday. I think they're probably ready to remembering how track position is so important.
Yes, it is.
I think everybody's going to learn their lessons from yesterday.
So a 1:46.64 from Lance Corley. Well done to Lance Corley. Ferrari of Atlanta then going quickest in Shell Am. As you said, Justin, quite a bit of cloud cover, and I don't know. I just feel that actually the weather conditions are such that it's going to be, I say, easier for the drivers. It's got to take a little bit of the pressure away, because yesterday it was absolutely steaming. You must have been in a sauna in the car.
Yeah, believe me, there's many reasons the weather like this is what you wish for. It is perfect. You get all the benefits of Sonoma. No direct sun. You can still get a tan. Watch out if you're one of the fans walking around. Your head could look like Dave's shirt if you don't wear sunscreen. But of course, in car you don't have that worry, Dave. All you're worrying about is you will be feeling different response from those Pirellis. Overall, they will have better grip for longer. So maybe we can see 3 laps out there in qualifying rather than 2.
Yeah, very fair point they make. So the Shell drivers making the way out on track now. This is the 122 car that you can see of Frank Szczesniak. The Ferrari of Austin driver had a really nice event that was held at a winery last night, and spent a lot of time talking to Frank Szczesniak, and he was very complimentary about you and I, Justin, which was really nice. So it means we're going to big him up even more today, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, he is my favourite driver. Even though I butchered his last name.
Yes,
he didn't mention that, did he?
No, he didn't.
Okay, good.
I think we
You
got
must
away
have
with
missed
that.
part.
So Frank Szczesniak is out there, and yes, all the drivers will make their way out there, and of course Lance Corley, hugely successful already today. He's with Amanda Busick.
All the way over to the interview, and Lance, I don't know if you looked at the times of your competitors yet, but you were clear by a second on P2, who was Bruce Cleveland. On the track at Sonoma, where do you find a second gap? That's impressive.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's less braking at turn 3 and less braking at 7 and 7A, which is worth more than a half a second. And I was coached by Jeff Westphal today and yesterday to make that improvement. Car felt really good and smooth. Ferrari of Atlanta, always a great supporter of me. Speedborn Racing, Arnie Poundstone, and my wife Nancy. Very happy to be alive, be here in Ferrari Challenge. So it was a good lap. It was a really good lap.
Congratulations, Lance. It's his second pole of the season, and the last one, he got the trophy.
Well, we will see, Justin, whether he's able to convert that against Dave. Interesting that he credits there. And this is what I like about most of the Ferrari Challenge drivers. They credit not only the team, but also their driver coach as well.
Yeah,
Jeff Westphal, very well respected, isn't he?
Really?
Darn good coach. And, he
also did the most important thing and thanked the boss.
Yes.
His wife.
Yes, Nancy.
That was. I know. I totally understand that. That was well done.
Now, we're watching Cameron Root here, and in discussion with Cameron Root and David Veronin last night, both of them said, hope we gave you some entertainment yesterday, which of course they did, because they were trading places like there was no tomorrow. As we look at Cyril Choksi driving that T car, of course, and he did a jolly good job yesterday, did Cyril. And Cameron Root, David Veronin, who of course had picked up, they were starting further back on the grid, irrespective of their qualifying times because of penalties from elsewhere. And they cut a swathe through the pack, Justin, didn't they? And then had this cat and mouse game between themselves, which endured for much of the race.
Yeah, they really gave us good entertainment, and themselves, I'm sure. And I think it was very, very clean racing.
Yes.
And obviously they lost a little bit of lap time out there, running time. But it did mean that they pushed like bejesus for the last 10 laps, and we were the benefit of that.
So we've got just on 11 and a half minutes, as near as makes no difference, of this qualifying session for our Shell drivers to set the very best laps they can. This is Frank Szczesniak, who might give us our first meaningful time from the Shell drivers. Lance Cooley then in the Shell AM drivers has already given us a 1:46.64. So this from Frank Szczesniak is not going to be the meaningful time that I thought. And it is Anthony Toccarlo who was, I'm just taking a look, Anthony Carlo didn't run in Shell AM, but Frank Szczesniak does put the first time on the board. It is a 1:48.228, but we expect to see those times come down. Cyril Choksi and Cameron Root also having posted times now, but as the track evolves and the car evolves and they get some temperature into those Pirelli tyres, it seems ridiculous to say that you've got to build temperature into the tyres when the ambient temperature is so good, but you do have to do that, Justin, don't you?
You do, and I think they all learned quite a lot of lessons from yesterday's qualifying. They're building up to their qualifying run, slightly more controlled, I've noticed. Yesterday we saw a couple of faster times out on their first time lap, and it could have punished and compromised their abilities for ultimate lap time. Today, their first lap is 8 seconds off the pace. You can do that pretty much with your eyes closed around here, running 8 seconds off the pace. So the next lap is just that explosive combination of everything you've been taught, everything you know, everything you learned yesterday, to try and lay down a qualifying lap. And it's such a mano a mano moment. It allows you to really put everything together without compromise. You're not worrying about other people. You're not worrying about track position. You're just worrying about, there's no strategy once you try that lap. You just try and string it together, which is, we're going to see some tumbling lap times.
Something I learned from you yesterday is the fact that actually you can be too aggressive in trying to warm your tyres up, and you can actually only warm up part of the tyre, which is not what you need. It needs to be a more comprehensive warm-up.
It's like microwaving a soup. If the outside of the soup's hot and the inside's cold, you actually have to stir it a bit, and then it's the right temperature. That is exactly...
I tell you what, we get looked after up here, do we not?
Do you know what? Ferrari hospitality is involving donuts, ladies and gentlemen. As long as we see them up here and instead of on the track. Dave's band.
But
I'm going to put that one right over there. Thank you so much. They're not doing donuts out there at the moment, though, are they?
Cameron Root with a 1:38.486. He said to me last night that he really, really needs to put it together today. And thus far, he's done that because he has gone quicker than anyone else. The nearest competitive Shell driver is Cyril Choksi with a 1:45.21. So Cameron Root with a 1:38.486. That's a full 2 seconds, Justin.
Stunning lap. I mean, he won't be alone up there.
No.
But he's certainly laid down the gauntlet to everybody else. Right now, Choski's 2 seconds off on that first lap. But as I said, drivers all have your individual style, and the coaches will have imprinted on them the best technique for their style. None of I've got so many friends out here. I just saw Andy Lally coaching as well. I mean, unbelievable. Some of the best drivers literally in North America are coaching these guys, and they will be helping them evolve their own style which fits with their driver's technique, because you can't teach someone to do something just the way you do it, because we all do things a little bit differently. They will have helped them evolve.
The cat and mouse battle that I described of yesterday continues in qualifying, because look at this. David Veronin has just bested Cameron Root by some 4/10. So it's now David Veronin who is P1 and Cameron Root who is P2. We're looking at Gray Falva, of course, hugely successful yesterday. Yet to post a meaningful time. Is it going to be this one as he rounds turn number 11? So Gray Falva, his father Brad, of course, races as well. And 1:38.059 is the target as he heads towards the line right now. Are we going to see our first sub? No, we're seeing a 1:39.089. That's enough for third fastest, and that moves Frank Szczesniak down to P4 and also moves Cyril Choksy down to P5. Then it's Jan Bernier, Mike Dalton, John Viscup, and Loska, Marston, Acosta, McWilliams, Carroll, Lully, and Dirk Ulrich, who, of course, Dirk Ulrich will want to right the wrongs of yesterday. He ended up in the grass, didn't he? And with a car that couldn't run any further. So the best lap having come from David Veronin with a 1:38.059. What have we got left? 6.5 minutes, Justin.
As I said, I think that they may have another lap in them. They seem hard. All of them. Gray was hard on it coming through turn 1 here after he timed that, laid down that lap time. Good enough for third, but that's a young man who I think doesn't look like he'd settle for third given the choice. So this is such an exciting moment when you're behind the wheel. You know, if your team say on the radio, are you good enough to go again? Do you think you've got more? That's the question you get asked. Yeah. And as a driver, you always say yes, and then halfway through the lap, you might realize your talent doesn't match your aspirations. Believe me, it happened to me enough. But can you do it? Otherwise, you're just taking tire wear. You're taking performance away from the upcoming race. So be honest with yourself if you haven't got it in you. And there's no dishonor in calling it in qualifying. You lay down a lap. You see it in Formula One. They do it all the time. You've got the lap you can, and then you come in. Gray
Falva, you as a successful racing driver in your own right, Gray Falva, having been so successful yesterday, what does that do for his qualifying today? That must give you a boost, and you must think that you can go out there and you can conquer everything. I mean, to come back after success, that's got to set you up nicely for the next day.
When your confidence is high, you go to bed that night going, when you win a race, you don't have to make an excuse to anyone, do you? No. That's the beauty of winning, I think, in any form of life's pursuits. But when you turn up for the race the next day, qualifying's a reset.
I recall this wonderful story of a racing driver who I won't embarrass by naming, who went to collect his wife at the airport for a race event and got caught speeding on the way back. And she just said, "You can't do that on the track." I mean, that's a bit of a disincentive, isn't it?
Well, I totally. I probably have heard those words. Wow. Okay, so we saw this car get a bit of action yesterday, didn't we?
Yes, and as I said, as you can see, going round in the 113 car, who, as I said, Dirk will be hoping to right the wrongs of yesterday. I have to say, it was a good recovery. He got it pointed back in the right direction very quickly.
The fans would have approached it.
Here we can see the 121 car then of Roy Carroll. Roy Carroll is currently sitting P10, just ahead of Ray Acosta at the moment. So the Foreign Cars Italia driver. Now, of course, Roy didn't finish the race yesterday either. Had strife with Dirk. I think it was Roy Carroll and Dirk Howe that had it coming together, wasn't it? Which caused unfortunate early race baths for those drivers. So they'll be wanting to things right today. David Veronin with a 1:37.894. So we have got a sub 1:38 time. It's 1:37.894. And again, it's the margins that I find extraordinary, Justin. He is 6/10 quicker than Cameron Root, and a full second ahead of Gray Falva.
Yeah, lovely on board here as we're heading up to 7A. This for Robert?
Roy.
Sorry, Roy. He knows if he's on a good lap, he wants to hold it together all the way down through these beautiful S-bends as you head down. As you head into the stadium area, really, in front of the Ferrari hospitality, he knows he's got to be absolutely inch perfect to execute the perfect exit out of turn 11 to gain time as you come past the start finish line.
I love this split screen because we can see what the car is doing out track, but we can actually see the inputs that Roy is making inside the car with this split screen.
Nice apex, nice line through there, up against the wall, close but not too close, flat all the way past 30. I can already tell he is not quite fast enough to progress any, but that was a very tidy lap. He'll back out now, cool everything down, get those huge carbon discs cooled off, and get ready for the race.
That final turn that you were just describing so eloquently, that is taken full jet flat, isn't it? And I mean, it's an unforgiving concrete wall that you're almost glancing that to shorten that corner as much as possible on you.
It's very weird. Do you remember the scene in Star Wars, the original one, when you've got the fighter going down between the walls, trying to destroy the Death Star? It feels like that coming through there, because it just all closes down on you. And as long as you're on all four wheels and you're going forwards, it's easy. It's just when things go wrong there, which they seldom do, but you see cars go two abreast through there, and it gets a bit spicy.
So with, what have we got? 1.5 minutes of this session remaining. The order is David Veronin, P1 with a 1:37.894. In fact, he's the only driver that's put it into the 37s thus far. Then it's Cameron Root, Gray Fowler and Frank Szczesniak, ahead of Cyril Choksi, Jan Bernier. They are the top 6 at the moment. We continue to watch Dirk Ulrich here in the 113 488 Challenge Evo. And what we should also make mention of the fact is that these are extraordinary racing cars. And to get the absolute maximum out of these, you have got to be on it. But here at the Sonoma Raceway, if I've learned anything this weekend, is you're on it for the entire lap. There's not a moment, I mean, racing drivers don't relax, of course they don't, but there are moments where you need less concentration on some tracks. Here, that's not the case at all. You're on it every single centimetre of tarmac, aren't you?
Even the straight has a bend in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, does it? But that's how this track is. It's full attack all the time. Your opportunity for mistakes are enhanced, but the flip side to that is when you string together a good lap, you feel pretty good about yourself, and everybody in this qualifying session should feel pretty good about themselves. We talk about track position, but I've got to say there's another side to it, that some drivers aren't about qualifying, they're really good in the race. And that also comes with experience. Learning how to turn it on for 1 or 2 laps in qualifying does come with experience and maturity. And so a lot of these guys don't have the on-track experience, so they rely on the race, and they should improve in that.
It's a very good point you make, because we hear that in motor racing all the time. You know, certain drivers are very, very, very good qualifiers. Others have got awesome racecraft. And, you know, there are those that can specialise in qualifying. As you say, that one lap, they can just go out there, nail it, park the car, and no one's going to beat them. There are many others, though, that they can talk the talk during the race.
Yeah, I'm a race talker. Qualifying I've had lots of pole positions, but it was never my strength. I almost couldn't disconnect the upstairs from the downstairs, which you need a bit to be a qualifier.
Okay. Well, the session is done then. The checkered flag is out, and we have our order, because I don't think anyone is setting any purple sectors, so we're not going to see any trouble or any of the drivers troubled at the top end of the chart. I would suggest it is going to be David Veronin from Cameron Root, Gray Fowler, Frank Szczesniak, Cyril Choksi, then Jan Bernier, Paul Loska, Mike Dalton, John Viscup, Roy Carroll, Ray Acosta, Eric Marston. Then it's Robert McWilliams, Dirk Ulrich, and Mike Luley, as we have a lovely look at the Richard Meals safety car, and of course the 296 car, which is the Richard Meals safety car, which will lead the cars away on their formation lap when they next appear for us in Coppa, because it will be race time. And the drivers have done everything that they can to give themselves the best possible position, and top of the tree is David Veronin then, who with that 1:37.894 goes pole position alongside his Cameron Root. Then it's Gray Fowler, Frank Szczesniak, Cyril Choksi, Jan Bernier, Paul Loska, Matt Dalton, John Viscup, Roy Carroll. They occupy the top 10 of what is going to be a very packed grid of Coppa and Coppa Am drivers. Then it's Ray Acosta, Eric Marston, Robert McWilliams, Dirk Ulrich and Mike Luley. Amanda Busick can give us an update on David Veronin.
Yeah, I was talking to him yesterday ahead of the race control meeting, and of the 4 podiums that he's found this season, he also has 3 wins to his credit, but he does not have a pole to his resume yet. So I know as we wait for David to get over here, he's going to be just incensed about that. But he said something interesting to me yesterday about racing here at Sonoma. He said that he does better at tracks that he's bad at. Not having a lot of experience at Sonoma, he said, I just don't know what I don't know. Is there something to that a lot of drivers, that allows drivers to push themselves in ways that other more veteran or seasoned drivers just wouldn't do here?
That's a very fair point, Amanda. And is there anything in that, Justin Bell?
It's weird because generally, what track do you like? As I said yesterday, the one I won on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just gel with the track. Other times you can dislike it, but somehow it yields to you in the race and you do well. I'm not a superstitious man, Amanda. I tried not to have pre-race rituals too much, just in case I lost the gloves or whatever. But I think if you approach each track with a fresh reset and an open mind, it's funny. You can walk away. He could walk away this afternoon saying, "This is my favorite place in the world."
Of course, yes, of course. Well, interesting, and thanks for that insight, Amanda. I spoke to David last night, and as I said, and I mentioned this earlier on in the program, he said, what we were determined to do was entertain for you, and I said, well, you certainly did that, friend. He's done a very, very good job in qualifying that P1, but put it P1 by something of a margin as well. So he has clearly got pace. He's clearly got the ability to pedal the car around the track, and you can see the car there. And doubtless in a few moments, Amanda will catch up with him as well. So there is, you can see the podium area in the paddock here, which is lovely.
I could not believe watching your podium ceremony yesterday. We walked back after the show. Outside being at Daytona in Victory Circle, that is the most impressive podium I have seen ever in North America.
Brilliant.
Better than Sebring, better than winning the 12 hours. It's. I mean, you can't beat Le Mans for the location.
No.
But hats off to Ferrari because that was a show.
Yeah.
And I was kind of a bit jealous. I was about to start looking at the rules and seeing if I'm too old to get in. No, I actually realized what it is. I'm too poor to get in. I'm not too old.
Oh, there was a hint.
There's a hint. I tell you what, while you talk about this lovely blue car, it's a donut.
You carry on with your donut then. So we're going to get the qualifying underway now for our Pirelli AM drivers as they ride the roller coaster here at Sonoma. And we look at the number 68 car of Chuck Whittle then, who gave us some insight into the turns yesterday in our program. So Chuck Whittle then for Ferrari of Central Florida is the first of the cars that we can look at now. What I love about the qualifying here in North America is the fact that it is really short, sharp. You get 15 minutes. That's all you've got. And truthfully, on a track like this, where everyone says you get 1, maybe 2 laps where you can post the best possible times, all the focus, all the energy, all the effort has got to be on making sure that you nail every single turn on when you're going for your lap, because you don't know whether you're going to come up against traffic. You don't know whether you're going to come up against, maybe a problem or whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that there is no chance really for you to make mistakes here. Omar Balkasoon we can see out on track as well. And they're the number 33 car of Omar Balkasoon. He drives for Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale. Hasn't podiumed yet this season, and I'd be very, very surprised if he doesn't. So we will see whether his podium aspirations can be seized today.
I'm loving the way they're approaching their qualifying lap. You can see, again, if you're just watching this, you go, why are they not going very fast? That is strategic. They're building up the core temperature of their tire. So when they cross the start-finish line and their crew chief, their engineer and them have decided this is the lap they're going to do it on, everything comes together. And I'll tell you what they're feeling through the steering right now is off those new Pirellis, a wonderful sense of front grip, a wonderful sense of rear traction. Everything just feels so complete through your hands. It's the best the car will feel all day, in fact. And I mean, it should be if it's set up properly. And you as a driver know, new tires, low fuel load, an amazing racetrack, great coaching and preparation. You're as excited as you can be that you're going to pull something off. No matter where you end up, it will be the best you did on the day.
Yes. So everything is set then for you to pedal that car to the best of your ability. And of course, all eyes are on these drivers during their qualifying session. As we look at Brad Falver now, we were just talking about Gray Falver yesterday, and indeed in qualifying just a few moments ago, Brad Falver for Ferrari of San Francisco then, and he is making his way around this Sonoma Raceway. Got a lot of drivers out in this qualifying for the Pirelli drivers, and already we're down to just 11.5 minutes of the session remaining, as every driver are going about their setup and their preparation for going for a really what we would call a hot lap in a different way. They all have their own ways of doing it, and this is the car of John Horsch for Ferrari of Vancouver, who of course was had a fine day yesterday, and he'll be hoping to replicate that today. So John Horsch finishing P2. Can he go one step further today? You certainly wouldn't bet against it.
Certainly wouldn't. He laid down, if you can see the difference in the ability to get on the power between the two, the Coppa Shell and then the Pirelli guys here. His first lap laid down in the 43s, which is a pretty strong opening lap. I predict his next lap will be, I mean, if he's going to be capable of a 38 plus, it'll be on that next lap.
The next one.
You see some cars stacked up out there, not a good idea. You want to create space. There's no excuse for it. On the warm-up lap, you can actually back out. But as I look across the track, we're seeing some nice gapping. You can see everyone seems to have found their space now. So slightly contradicting myself, but they sorted it out from that first lap.
And this is where the relationship that you have with your coach really works as well, because of course they've got GPS track map inside the garages. They can tell the drivers where to go. Now you've got track space ahead of you. Now, of course, they can't legislate for someone coming out of the pit lane. Before we get back to that, let's check out David Veronin, who did a great job a few moments ago, and he's with Amanda Busick right now.
Davey absolutely did, and walked over to our interviews and said, "It's my first pole," as he gets the hat to commemorate it, and this plaque will also memorialize this event for you. And David, of the season that you've had, you've already have a couple wins to your name, but that is the first pole on your resume by 0.6 of a second. Exactly where on this track can you pick up that much distance?
Well, I'll tell you after the race. Just overall, got to be smooth as fast. That's it.
That's a very good strategy. I was telling the guys that you told me in the meeting, ahead of the meeting yesterday, that this is a track that you're bad at, but it allows you to kind of push yourself in ways that maybe others wouldn't. The boundaries of track limits, is it better for you kind of to not know those at this stage?
I mean, just looking back at my season, right? This is my first season that we just started, and these are the tracks where I learned the most, really, because you have no grip, you learn car control, you learn how to really progress here, learn the limits of the car. So, I mean, this is a good school.
Well, you figured it out here today. Congratulations on your first pole.
Well done to David Veronin. Then he has taken his Rotiform pole position award, and we can now see Michael Mathis now in this Trofeo Pirelli Am qualifying has gone quickest with a 1:39.289. Then it is Omar Balkassoon, who I said was going to be quick, with a 1:39.452. All of a sudden, we've got 4 drivers in the 39s, including Brad Falver and John Horsch. As you said, quite rightly, Justin, he was setting himself up for this lap.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, because I think with the cloud cover, we're going to see a little bit, a third lap attempt.
Mm-hmm.
The first lap really was still warming up the tires, which laid down that 43. Now we just gone 38.47.
Brian Cook did that. We saw him cross the line as well. Brilliant. 1:38.479. So great lap from Brian Cook. And as you say, just because of this cloud cover, it is making a difference in terms of how this track has evolved.
And it's, as we know, the competition level in this series means that they've got to keep everything they can for the race. Qualifying can't become a test session.
No.
Unless you had a mechanical, and then you're not worrying about grid position, you're just worried about making the race. But yeah, we're going to see, I reckon we're going to see high 30, maybe 37.7 or something like that, if they're able to have managed their tires through this.
Well,
the 66 car coming off there is what's Mr. Ferrari going to pull off?
Well, let's see. Is he going to improve? He's currently P4 as he heads to break the beam now. It's a 1:41.96, so he doesn't improve. We're yet to see a meaningful time from Justin Rothberg, of course, but Michael Mathis with a very good lap as well. He's gone second fastest with a 1:39.068. Here comes Joe Sposato then for Ferrari of Beverly Hills. Target time is 1:38.479. We're way off that, but Joe will improve and go again. So, yeah, looking at the drivers through the list there, Rothberg is the obvious one. Tony Davis is perhaps another obvious one to see an improvement. So too this man, Dave Musial, returning to racing this weekend, and delighted Dave Musial is back for Ferrari Lake Forest. His target time, like all, is a 1:38.479, and Dave Musial crosses the line now, and he delivers a 1:39.827, so that gives him P6.
Just seeing an onboard here as we cross the line. What time did we get there? An improvement, personal improvement for Wang, 41.467.
Well done, McCabe. Great job done there. Brian Cook, 1:38.479. And again here, we're seeing in this session, and we saw it a little bit in the last one, and this is Michael Mathis coming into the pit lane. He feels that he's given of his best now.
Yeah, he's done it, and that's a smart call. Okay, I might have been a bit optimistic with my lap time poll. So we might see it in the next group because we know a 37 is possible.
Absolutely. So, what I find quite curious is the margin between P1 and P2 is for nearly 6/10.
Yeah.
But then P3 and P4, I mean, it is literally a 100th between them, isn't it? Between Omar Balkasoon and Brad Falber.
It's 100th. It's incredibly close, which around a track of this length is pretty impressive to be that tight on the front of the end of the grid. But at this point, with 5 minutes to go, everybody has been giving it their best shot.
So Joe Sposato then, who is currently P13, he goes again and crosses the timing line and stays P13. So it is Cook from Mathis. Balkasoon then is Falver. Justin Rothberg is currently P5. Tony Davis is P6 with Dave Musial now P7 as we go back on board. And I love these onboard shots, giving us a high-speed driver's eye perspective with McCade Wang for Ferrari of Vancouver as he rocks us around this extraordinary raceway. Wow.
Wide open.
You get so close to that, don't you? That really rather unforgiving concrete wall in two places.
No improvement for Wang overall, but I think he improved his own personal best. There's a point of diminishing returns right now on the tires versus performance, and it's a really tricky one as a driver, because you can feel you can go faster, and you probably can, but the window of that opportunity has just gone.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where race maturity comes into it, and is recognizing that and knowing that even though you may feel that you've got it in you, that the car is just not going to deliver it for you. So making that critical decision as we watch Michael Porter then, who is P10. He's slowed up now, hasn't he? The order is Cook from Mathis, Balkasoon, Falver, Rothberg. They are the top five. They're the number 22 car that we're watching right now of Michael Porter then, who, as I say, is currently P10. He's ahead of Chuck Whittle and then McCade Wang and Joe Sposato. 13 cars out there for this qualifying session, of which there are 3 minutes remaining. And at the moment, just looking at the timing lineup, I can't see anyone that is really posting sector times that are going to trouble the order that we can see at the moment. A bit of camera art as the flags flutter in the bonnet of that. That's a Roma. That's yes. I can't have favourites, can I? But Roma is pretty nice.
I'll tell you what.
Yes.
I drove that 296 GTB this week.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me of quite why you want to drive a Ferrari.
Okay.
The looks, the shape, the technology, the seats, the interior, the smell, the sound. Where do I stop? It's just
ticking every sense box then.
Every single box. No wonder these guys. I mean, and remember, a lot of these guys and girls own these cars on the road as well.
Of course.
You know, and so isn't that the dream of everybody, that you can take a Ferrari on a racetrack, and here we are. So It's such an impressive achievement that Ferrari have with this challenge series around the world.
It's
fulfilling dreams, basically. It's like Make-A-Wish, but it's Make-A-Wish with for a very select few.
And as a one-make series, and we see this across the regions. Of course, here we are in North America, where it's
still pushing.
He is pushing.
Interesting.
Where we're hugely successful here in North America with a huge grid of cars and lots of participants. But worldwide, we have regions in Europe, also in the UK, and indeed in Japan. And we are now finding drivers, particularly in Trofeo Pirelli, who are being picked up and using Ferrari Challenge
really
as
good.
something of a step ladder.
Stepping stone, yeah.
Yeah.
This, I believe, is a time attack for his qualifying run. Interesting call to do it late. Well timed. Takes a lot of confidence to leave your lap until the clock is starting to run out. But of course, less traffic. He's had time to compose himself. Maybe had a little chat with his coach, and we're watching the 22 car come down through the S's. Of course, at this point, only he and his team know where he is on his predictive lap. But if he's got a shot at it, it all is going to be left to play for in how he hits the brakes here. Look at the front of the car dive down as he turns in. Will he hold it neat and tidy to the apex? It's all about throttle modulation, not fighting the traction control on the way out. Flat through the last corner to the finish line. It's 38, 39, 40. Did he improve his lap? I think he might have done for himself, but not overall.
It didn't move him a place.
But very nicely executed qualifying. Hats off to him, because he did a nice job there.
Inside these 488 Challenge Evos, of course, there's lots of facility available to you on the steering controls. And of course, he's being made aware of his times and his cumulative time and his predicted lap time as well. Do you find that a hindrance or a help, Justin? Do you just need a clear head and just get on with it, or actually is that information beneficial?
When it's green, of course, it's right. When it's not, it's wrong. When it's telling me I'm slow, no, it's very. I find it a real help. In the old days, you'd be looking, oh my God, I'm on 6,200 revs coming out of that corner by the fence or the white line, and last time I was 110 feet past that.
Okay.
So that's how we used to do it in those speedos. Now with data, we know exactly where we are. Of course, as the checker flag finishes, there's so many electronics in this car, live telemetry, live cameras. The coaches know before they do whether they're onto a hot one.
And that's the point I make, because the relationship that you have with your coach, and every single driver is different. Sometimes they can be, you need that motivation, you need that metaphorical kick up the bottom, just to find that additional 100 that the coach knows you've got it in you. And I just wonder whether you, as a driver, how you've experienced that, whether you find that beneficial or whether you don't, because there are a lot of drivers that don't like it.
No, I mean, any accountability behind the wheel helps you improve.
Yeah.
It really does. And remember a lap time. We heard the pole sitter for the last race say he gained it in 2 corners. In reality, you don't gain a second in 2 corners. You gain tenths here and there, and 2 or 3 tenths in 1 corner. It's because time it's all cumulative all the way around here, and you just take a little bit off everywhere. So very, very impressive job.
What's great about the Ferrari Challenge is that you can look at the form guide from race number 1. Does it give you a guide of what's going to happen in race 2? Not necessarily, because look who we've got top 3 in that qualifying session. Cook, Mathis and Balkasoon then. They go P1, 2 and 3. And when you look at their results yesterday, Brian Cook finished P9. Michael Mathis then P10. And Omar Balkasoon in car number 33 finishing in P5. So, going to be an interesting race. Brian Cook then topping the chart with Michael Mathis and Omar Balkasoon P2 and 3. Brad Falver, Justin Rothberg out of position, I would suggest. So too, arguably, Tony Davis, Dave Musial, John Horsch, who was on the podium yesterday, lowly P8 relatively, Jay Logan, and then Michael Porter ahead of Chuck Whittle, McCade Wang and Joe Spasato. What I think that does is it provides a really, really nice script for what could be a very, very entertaining race in Pirelli Am.
Yeah, and we're going to be able to see the strategies unfold. You have to be opportunist, settle down, and then attack according to plan. you know, and we're going to see that in this afternoon's race. As you say, it's on an individual side of things. As the driver, you're a little disappointed.
Yep.
You're qualifying 5th, for example, where you thought you should be on the on the front row.
Yep.
But from us as entertainment, when someone's further back who has pace, it provides the setting for a great race.
And a lot of people said to me when I arrived at Sonoma, yeah, it's really difficult to overtake. Justin, with due respect,
I don't agree with that.
We saw a lot yesterday.
Yeah. It's difficult because you have to commit.
Yeah.
And you have to be brave and you have to set it up. So, yeah, nothing's handed to you on a plate here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 very possible overtaking zones.
And you articulated yesterday that actually, if you're going to go for an overtake, you have got to have that commitment. There's no kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Once you've decided you're going to do it, you've got to go for it. You've got to send it. Otherwise, you're not going to make it happen.
And we saw some great defense yesterday and yielding to the inevitable. And as a driver, sometimes you've got to know the moment to just pull the ripcord and just let the guy go by. And live to fight another day. And we saw that because side-by-side action up in 7A, which could have ended in tears. And the highest paid drivers in the world managed to mess that up, and these guys got through it. So I was very impressed.
There was one overtake yesterday where, you know, all the way around the outside, and you just think that's never going to happen, but it did happen. It was absolutely brilliant. We're going to have loads of that, I'm sure, in the race to come a little bit later on. So there is our qualifying done and dusted for our Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers. We've got our Pirelli drivers to come up next for their qualifying session. So very much looking forward to that. Yesterday it was that Martin Burrows move all the way around the outside, and you and I were absolutely. There's not much that makes us be quiet.
No.
A lot of people are annoyed about, but you know, we were spellbound by the fact that he's just going around the outside, and he did exactly what you said. Absolutely committed to it. He'd made that commitment. He's going to have to stick with it. He kept his foot buried, and he actually made it work.
I'm excited to see the lap times.
There is the very car I was
yeah,
talking about.
the 4 of these guys can pull off. They're going to be a little bunched up, obviously, as they head out on their formation lap. And there's 2 things. When it was Mika Hakkinen in front of me, I used to hook my anchor to the back of his bumper and just try and follow. If it was someone I felt I was quicker than, I wanted clear of them as fast as I can.
Yes.
So there's a psychology to it as well. A little bit of jostling. Now, obviously, this would be not ideal to have 2 pairs of cars side by side. You see, that's what I would do as well. If you get the shot there to go by and find your track position, everybody's working to their own cadence here. They've got their own technique to get up to optimum speed.
Ferrari Beverly Hills then, and Matt Kojeski, who I first met Matt in January this year when he was competing in the winter challenge that we had in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And you know, when you look at a driver who, and Matt has got racing experience, he's had some time away from racing, has decided to come back to it, and he's having a real purple patch in the Ferrari challenge, and rightly so, because he's a very, very talented driver. But what I find really impressive is that you can take a break away from racing and you can soon get back up to speed again when you come back, and that's precisely what Matt has done.
It happened to all of us. If you sometimes I'm sure in this situation it's because of business obligations and family and things like that, but when you come back, sometimes you are just quicker.
Okay.
You've come back because you found your enthusiasm. Obviously, you took it to the ultimate. You got Daniel Ricciardo, who's just going back into Formula One, and he's like, ready to go.
Yeah.
And enthusiasm beyond measure. I did it when I left the Corvette team. I had in 2000. I then came back to do Trans Am, and I was like, oh my God, where's this speed come from?
Oh, right.
It was because my career was in jeopardy. I get another opportunity, and I appreciated it more than ever before. So I was on it even harder, and not necessarily the same dynamics here, but sometimes a little rest away can make you come back and just have a different feel. Even when you can come into the pits for 60 seconds during a practice session or qualifying, 30 seconds, just sit there, I've often said to my crew chief, don't talk to me. Okay, I'm ready to go. And it just, I couldn't get my brain sorted while I was in motion.
Okay.
I needed to do it stationary.
Right.
And so these guys are all going to find their own way.
Jason McCarthy then for Wide World Ferrari, who we're watching now in the number 11 car now. Jason McCarthy, of course, finished on the podium yesterday, P3. He had a really, really good battle, particularly towards the end of the race. And that battle was going on, of course, with Matt Kajewski, who did best in for P2 in the end. Jason McCarthy held on to that P2 position for a lot of the race, and then just right at the end of the race, Matt came calling, and he managed to wrestle that away from him. But nonetheless, Jason will he'll have a different modus operandi today. I feel sure he's a fine driver. Jason McCarthy, never one to bet against, and just
using every inch of the racetrack. This heavy braking.
Yeah, heavy braking, and it's the way that the front of the car really compresses down on the suspension, doesn't it, through that turn 11?
Oh, brushing up against the wall. I think this is going to be a pretty good lap. Yes, anytime it's showing sub 36 as they come by, that should be a very good lap.
Well, it's a 1:38.061, which is the fastest time that we have seen across Pirelli and Pirelli Am today. Martin Burrows has posted a 1:39.555. That gives him P2 in class. It's P6 in the order overall as we look at Dave Musial Jr. right now. And Custodio Toledo has crossed the timing line as well. Here comes Junior, or 2.0 as he's affectionately known, and he goes second fastest with a 1:39.425. So it's Jason McCarthy from Musial Jr., Burrows and Toledo at the moment. Matt Kajewski is a time that we're looking forward to seeing, and he had a very, very unorthodox line around turn number 11. He does that differently to everybody else, Justin.
Yeah, he does.
Is it going to work?
Not
this
this
lap.
No, this lap. But I think he knew that was he bailed on that lap somewhere.
Right.
This is the start of his lap as he climbs up through turn 2 into turn 3. Really got to aggressively hit the air. You actually aim for the apex here with a deliberation. And if you were sitting next to me, you'd think I'm going to hit it. But the dynamics, the topography of this track actually make you miss. You glide past the apex, no matter how hard you try and hit it. So it's all about being ultra precise on this track, but very, very physical with the way you turn it.
Here's Manny Franco then, and Manny Franco, of course, he just disappeared up the road yesterday. You see him just
warming up his tires,
gently weaving from side to side. You see some drivers who are very aggressive with the weaving, other drivers that are a little bit more conservative, a bit gentler, and having listened to what you told me yesterday and the fact that you're looking for a comprehensive heating of the tires, I would have suggested...
The long sweeps are better.
Yeah, the way he's doing it was probably more effective.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, Manny was very impressive in the way he drove yesterday, and he's happier behind the wheel than the mic, which is so we could call him a little Kimmy in a way, couldn't we?
Very much, yes.
He really, his enthusiasm for this was actually quite palpable. Let's see how Matt's going to do, though, at the end of this lap. It's very important. You'll see, I could tell he wasn't on one last time because the front wasn't nailed to the floor. You go through the undulation under braking, hold it together. That is interesting. A lot of people do a little V-shaped apex there, which he just did. Wide open. This is going to be a good one as he comes through the corner on 34.56. There, 38.1. I mean, that is literally, a hair between them.
7 100ths is all there is between Jason McCarthy and Matt Kajewski. This is the car of Manny Franco then, and we saw him still warming up, but Manny Franco...
Not warming up now, he's on the hot plate.
He's going for it now, isn't he? So it's McCarthy, Kajewski, Toledo, Perina, Musial Jr., then Martin Burrows at the moment, but... Manny Franco then is currently sitting P7 ahead of Dylan Medler, but
we won't be for long.
We're expecting this, both Justin and I, predicting that this lap is going to be a very good lap as he comes into the stadium section now of this Sonoma Raceway.
Hold it together. Ooh, that's good. Very actually nicely controlled. Brushes the apex, runs the curb up against the wall. Wide open. From the hospitality, this sounds spectacular as they go tails away. Fastest lap.
Well, you called it. You called it. So, 5 tenths quicker, 1:37.561. Forgive me, someone talking to me in my headphones, and I think it's for Amanda Busick right now.
Well, as you guys are talking about fastest laps, this is the guy that got the fastest lap in Trofeo, Pirelli AM. And Brian, when you think of yesterday, to rebound for some of the mishaps that happened in the race, how important is this for the mental preparation for today's race?
Oh, it's super important. Yesterday was a day to forget, but happy to start on the pole today and managed to put it all together. So pretty happy about that.
We've been talking about track position. We've talked about the overtake capability here, starting from the front. Is it?
It's a difficult place to pass, so definitely a benefit to being up front.
Thank you, Brian. Good luck today.
Can I just say thank you to my coach, Mark Miller, MG1, and my family at home, Ferrari Seattle. Thank you.
That's a well-trained driver, isn't it? Getting all the mentions
I thought it was Scott Pruitt for a minute. Thanks to my family at home. That's what he used to say in every single interview anywhere in the world after any single race. Yeah, one of the top sports car races of history. John Bennett there in the number 9. What lap time has he got so far? He's not up on the board yet, is he?
So the number 54 car that we're watching then, and just while we're hearing from Brian then, of course, Manny Franco, we saw his lap completed, and it was a lap that gave us a 37.561. And interestingly, we've got 3 drivers in the 37s, and they are Manny Franco, Matt Kajewski, and Roberto Perina, with Jason McCarthy only 5 tenths off of P1 as well. So across the top 4 Pirelli drivers, there's only 5 tenths between them.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a different race today. I don't see Manny pulling out the same way. No, I don't. I think a lot of coaching's gone on, a lot of lessons. What they did was, the nature of the race was, once you didn't apply pressure to him, he could control his tire management, which he did. And there was no catching him at that point, especially as they were involved in a battle. Lesson to be learnt is do not let the guy at the front get away because you're in a scrap. Easier said than done, but you need to move as a pack and keep him within range.
Roberto Perina feels that he has given of his best, and he parks the car now. Not literally, he's on the entry to the pit lane. And here we can see the number 15 car going around the track of Dylan Medler, who drives for the collection. Dylan Medler is currently 7th fastest, and Dylan Medler has, the win has eluded him so far this year. He's had some podiums, but he hasn't had the win. And Dylan then accelerating now and climbing uphill and hoping to improve from his P7 place at the moment, where he sits just behind Dave Musial Jr. and Martin Burrows.
See those rotors glowing orange there as he hit the brakes? It shows just how much energy is involved in driving one of these cars around. Interesting the way that the ABS systems on these, when you see the cars do a little twitch under braking, that is literally the laws of physics being managed by the sophisticated ABS, motorsports ABS on these, but it does involve the car moving around. And then on traction, exiting at a corner, you often see a weird mid-corner twitch on the way out. And that is the way the traction control works, by applying brakes on the rear wheels, which puts heat into the rear wheels as well. So it's a bit of a complex situation that driver and the team have to manage. It's not just a question of flooring it. When you have traction control, you have to manage.
Two-place advantage now from Dylan Medler. He's improved 2 places, goes up to P6. So that was a good lap from Dylan Medler. Well done to him. And he posted a 138.950, and I would have suggested, as we look at John Bennett now, who is running P8, Martin Burrows is P9. So is this going to be an improvement from John Bennett for foreign cars? Italia then. It's Franco from Kajewski, Perina, McCarthy, Toledo, Medler, Musial Jr., and then Bennett, the car that we're watching right now with 3 minutes remaining. Heavy braking. Front of the car compressing. You do run wide there, Justin.
Yeah.
You trying to get a slingshot a bit?
You are. You can also spend a little bit too long out in the on the edge. It's weird. It's the harder you go, the faster, as John improves over the next few years of racing, and he matures and understands even more than he does now. I think you'll find you don't use quite such wide lines. I don't. I go tighter, in a weirdly tighter and tighter as I carry more speed.
Right.
That's an ideal line out there, and in a way costs him a little bit out on the apron. But I'll tell you what, he's tidy, he's consistent, and I think he'll be pretty pleased with this lap.
Consistency is key oftentimes, isn't it? Where if you can keep it tidy and just neat and not be too aggressive and too, what's the word? Just too flippant almost with your endpoints. Flamboyant is a better word. Consistency is key. The number 15 car that we watch of Dylan Medler now, he improved 2 places last time around. Is this going to be an improvement for him as he heads towards the line? He's just setting himself up for this lap. Yeah. This is the one that's going to count for Dylan Medler, and it comes right at the end of the session. So here comes Dylan Medler then, and we run the clock on him from the collection driver. So his last fast lap, he improved 2 places. Still further with this lap, he feels that he's got the grip available to him, and you can see the car looking a little twitchy.
Yeah, he actually hit the inside curb there, which unweighted the car. I mean, he handled it perfectly, but there's a fine balance between running the curb and hitting the curb.
Okay.
And it's a matter of inches, and it just threw him out a little bit there. But let's see how he rolls through here. Very nice late apex. On the gas, left a little bit wide as he went round there. That is one place you do want to make contact with the inside, I feel, at some point, because you need as much to get on the gas full. You need to be able to obviously get the car as straight as you can, as early as you can. But coming through 7, okay, now he's bailed out.
Yeah. Now, with only 50 seconds left on the clock as we look at the number 54 car of John Bennett rounding that turn 11 in the stadium section here of the Sonoma Raceway. Don't think this is going to be an improvement from John as he crosses the timing line now, going for his last timed lap. This will be the last lap that he's able to do because we only have 30 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, I imagine he is going to be thinking about the lap he just did. I mean, when you're behind the wheel on the last lap of qualifying, I've got to say, as you're on your in lap like he is now, you often think, the next time I do this, I'm going to be with everybody else racing. So what do I need? I'm also looking at the outside line, seeing how much runoff there is. I mean, how many marbles there are on the outside line where I'm going to be overtaking. I spend my in lap after qualifying often looking for, especially the morning warm-up, which you have obviously on a normal race weekend, just to see not the racing line, but everything that's offline where I'm going to be about to overtake than you ever have. Arrive at the corner faster on a worse line than you ever have, trying to overtake someone on the crappy side of the track. There's a lot going on.
You're pointing a fairly dim picture there.
Yeah, but that's why you need to pay attention
right.
every chance you can. Driving slowly on a racetrack is a luxury that you should make the most of.
Wow. So it's interesting how you can, there you can see John decided not to continue with that lap. So that is the order then. We are done. Manny Franco, he's done it again. P1, Matt Kojewski P2, Roberto Perina is P3, Jason McCarthy P4, then it is Custodio Toledo and Dylan Medler. Rounding out the top 6, and you can see those on the tower there, which is another impressive structure here at Sonoma. The most impressive for me has been not only this race control building where we're fortunate to have our studio, and Justin was fortunate to get a donut, but our hospitality facility, or the hospitality facility here at Sonoma as well, is very, very lovely. We'll bring you the full rundown in just a moment, and you can just see to the right hand side of your picture there precisely where we are located up high here, and affords us a fantastic view of this wonderful circuit. And you were explaining to me yesterday about the very dark tarmac that you can see to the right of the picture is very much a drag strip.
Very famous drag strip.
Part of the track uses that. So Manny Franco P1 ahead of Matt Kojewski and Roberto Perina and Jason McCarthy. Just 5/10 between those top 4 drivers. Then it was Custodio Toledo, Dylan Medler, Dave Musial Jr., John Bennett, and Martin Burrows then taking that P9 place. So that's the way the Trofeo Pirelli drivers have qualified. That gives them their grid position for the race this afternoon. And once again, Manny Franco is going to do it from P1. He's with Amanda.
And it'll be the 3rd time this season he'll get to take a shot at it from P1. And there's the plaque for you of Sonoma, Manny. And starting from pole position, do those words ever get tiresome?
Sorry for pole position. I would hope not. No, I hope that the day that someone tells me that, I'm excited and giddy for pole. So
When we talked to Alessandro Balzan yesterday, he was just saying how much fun you had and how much fun it was for him watching, and then just all the little nuances that you pick up at Sonoma. What's the biggest key of success here?
Here, for qualifying, I mean, it's nailing every corner. So many corners here, and it's grabbing the compression as well. You want to use that. If you miss it, you're veering off wide and you're offline for the next corner as well. So it's a lot of time lost that way.
Enjoy the race today.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done, Manny Franco. Then he picks up the Rotiform Pole Position Award. And there is the hospitality in the sunshine here at Sonoma Raceway with people enjoying the qualifying from Justin Bell and from myself. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you join us for the races to come this afternoon. Bye-bye for now.